Bundesliga predictions, round 34.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Very Biased Opinions for the final round of Bundesliga predictions. It's with a very heavy heart that it's come to the end of the season because it's been a thoroughly enjoyable league. Yes, go on Thomas. Yes, interrupt me. Interrupt me in 10 seconds in.
I just wanted to say before you, because I know you won't say it, we will be covering the German Cup final, which is on the 4th of July, so do look out for that video.
Literally stole my thunder. I was literally about to say, I'm stalling for time, let's jump into the first game.
VfL Wolfsburg versus Bayern Munich.
Just quickly before we jump into this one, because I didn't say it in the intro, we do put timestamps down in the description, and you can also jump using the YouTube chapters bar along the bottom of the video. But just stay and watch the whole thing. Wolfsburg. How have you got yourself in this position where you need to take a point? Well, maybe need to take a point off Bayern Munich. Absolutely shocking that you've managed to get into this situation. You did have a good win over Schalke, but that's not really saying much. That was a 4-1 win. You got Weghorst back in form. Mababu's always good. I think Renato Steffen is returning to fitness every time that he plays. But you're playing against Bayern, and this Bayern side just does not want to lose. There's no sort of give in them. There's no mercy. They're like the Daleks from Doctor Who. You would look at it and say maybe Bayern have got nothing to play for because they've already sewn up the league. And by the way, it was supposed to be a tight Bundesliga this year, but Bayern Munich ended up winning it by 10 points. You wouldn't think Bayern are not going to go easy on Wolfsburg in this game. It just doesn't seem to be in their mantle. They've got a week after this to prepare for the cup final, so it's not like they're going to rest players or anything like that. And they want players to be as sharp as possible going into whenever the Champions League comes back, although that's not going to be for a while. I'm going Bayern. I think Bayern Munich will win. I think it's going to be a 3-2 Bayern win. Good game, I think.
Ian, you're a fool to think this Bayern Munich team will concede 2 goals. And I think this for one reason. And this one reason is one player who I don't think has ever been the standout player for Bayern, but he's like their Michael Jordan. I'm talking about Thomas Müller, a guy who quite clearly cannot accept losing, can't accept winning by just 1 goal. He's an absolute machine. He's never been the best player on Bayern or the German national side, and yet he's the first name on the team sheet. He ties them together so well. It seems like he has no standout quality. He's not great at shooting. He's not great at passing. He's not great at running. And yet he does all of them to such a high level that as a complete package, he just runs games. And a couple rounds back, I can't remember which match it was, but Bayern were looking kind of languid. And he was just furious. And they end up winning 3-1. And one's an assist from him and another one he's dummied a shot to allow. And you're just with a player like that on the team, it doesn't allow anyone to drop their level. And you've seen that in this run-in. Bayern have just maintained this business-like attitude, just walking over teams. And even when they're not playing well, being able to drag a win out of it. And they're going to win this one 3-0. And, they're probably going to win the German Cup final. But if any of you want to know about the German Cup final, check out our video in about 5 or 6 days' time, where I tell you how Leverkusen will mastermind a fantastic victory over Die Roten.
Over Bayern Munich.
Indeed.
I'll tell you what Thomas Müller is good at. You say he's not excellent at anything. He's excellent at winning, and he's excellent at collecting medals. For the final time, Tom, it's time to celebrate, and let's crack open a glass and a bottle of the 1899, because it's Borussia Dortmund versus 1899 Hoffenheim.
Just give me half a bottle of Blue Nun.
So Hoffenheim had a really great last round. They came out against Union Berlin and absolutely just blitzed over them. I think it was 4-0. We did say this a couple weeks ago. I said Union aren't playing for anything. It's going to come unstuck. And it has well and truly come unstuck for them. Hoffenheim, on the other hand, are now equal on points with Wolfsburg for a spot in the Europa League. Dortmund are coming off a very solid 2-0 victory over Leipzig. And cometh the Erich Haaland, cometh the goals and the wins. He was out for a couple games. Dortmund looked at sea. He's back. He's constantly scoring, and that's really all you can expect. Hoffenheim won the reverse fixture here 2-1, but I cannot see that happening. Dortmund, especially their manager, needs to end on a win to hope that he's not sacked at the end of the year and they don't bring in a higher class manager. So I'm going to go with the Dortmund 2-0 victory here.
Very similar to Wolfsburg, isn't it? Hoffenheim have to come up against one of the best sides in the Bundesliga to try and get something to get into Europe. And it's a shame because they have been on a really good run. But yeah, Dortmund absolutely overcame that terrible result against Mainz by having a very good one against Leipzig. And I also think Dortmund will win. I will just think slightly different though. I'm going to go 2-1. So I think Hoffenheim are in pretty good goal scoring.
FC Augsburg versus RB Leipzig.
RB Leipzig are away from home, so RB Leipzig are going to win, aren't they? That seems to be the way it works. When they're at home, they can't seem to do anything, which is nuts. I don't understand it. I'm not sold on this guy. I'm not sold on Nagelsmann at all. I really see him as an Andre Villas-Boas. I really do. I wouldn't be surprised in a couple of years we see him managing like Hijack Split or something, or Steaua Bucharest in the Champions League, and we're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. Poor against Dortmund again. I mean, it's like they go a goal down, they have no idea how to get back into a game. We've seen it before from them. They threw away points against Dusseldorf at home too. It's not been a great end to the season for them at all. And they're going to lose Werner as well next season, which is a massive blow for them. And Chelsea got him for a fraction of the price you should be getting a player like that for.
54 million pounds. Although, have you read the story behind it?
No.
Apparently, his agent gets 12 million quid from Chelsea in this, and he is getting a huge pay deal. And apparently, Liverpool have been talking to him for 6 months, and Jurgen Klopp went, "You're not going to start for us. You will start starting for us during the African Cup of Nations." And he went, "I'm not leaving for that."
Well, I don't blame him for that.
No, I'm not. But the amount of money Chelsea are paying, it's like 54 million up front. His agent is getting a quarter of that just to himself.
Yeah, Augsburg, nothing to play for, no relegation fears. They put that to bed. Niederlechner got another goal as well in a draw with Dusseldorf, and that's all Dusseldorf ever do is draw games, isn't it? I'm RB Leipzig will win. I think it'll be a 3-1 Leipzig win.
You're going to go 3-0, if only to be different from you. There's not really anything else to say. I don't think Nagelsmann's as bad as you say. I actually think he'll be at Dortmund in a couple years. I don't know who else Dortmund can bring in to challenge Bayern Munich's supremacy, but they need somebody who, when Dortmund play Bayern and it's close, can come up with a tactically adept way of containing Bayern, not basically trying to play them at their own game. Because this is the down year for Bayern Munich, and they've won the league at a canter at the end of it. There needs to be a better game plan from Dortmund. But anyway, Leipzig will win 3-0. And in the next match, Borussia Mönchengladbach hosts Hertha Berlin.
Again, like we've talked about with Hoffenheim and Wolfsburg, Gladbach kind of need to get something out of this game with Hertha Berlin just to kind of secure the 4th place.
Yeah.
And this is a really tricky tie. It's the side you don't want to come up against, because this is a side you don't know what to expect. And it's a Hertha Berlin side that's very talented, got a lot of good players, and I don't think they're going to just lie down and let Gladbach win. I think it's going to be a real tough game for Gladbach, and we've seen that they have their very inconsistent side as well. I think this one's going to be a draw. Hertha are coming off the back of a really good win against Leverkusen, and they're going to want to end the season strong. But I just think Gladbach are going to get a draw in this one, and I think it's going to be an entertaining draw. I'm going to go 2 apiece.
I'm actually going to go for 1 apiece. I think Kuhn is going to get a goal for Hertha Berlin. He's back, and I genuinely think he makes the difference in this side. I don't know what it is, but these last 8 games, when he plays, the team look better. His invention, his forward play. Piatek also is coming into his own in this club. And Hertha, I think, will be challenging for a spot in the Champions League next year. At the very least, the Europa League. They've been described as the most exciting young side in Germany, and you can see why. Mönchengladbach and Leverkusen have been doing this dance all season. Leverkusen beat Mönchengladbach, but their form since has tailed off really precipitously. They look exhausted. They've got Kai Havertz back, but it made no difference as Hertha run roughshod over them 2-0 last week. For me, it's a 1-1 draw. I think Gladbach will go up literally on goal difference to the Champions League. And let me also really quickly state, Leverkusen would do better in the Champions League than Mönchengladbach will end up doing.
Bayer 0-4 Leverkusen versus FSV Mainz 0-5.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to see any surprise from Mainz. They used their one get-out-of-jail-free card against Borussia Dortmund to secure safety for themselves, winning 2-0 2 rounds ago. Since then, they've beaten Werder Bremen and well and truly secured themselves. Leverkusen is a club that have completely had the wheels fall off come the end of the season. They're on a really good run. They beat Gladbach, I think, in their second game back. But ever since that Bayern loss, they've been a bit up and down. Havertz's injury, which people are still rumoring to be he's leaving on a transfer, I think it's probably playing into their minds. Peter Boschbol and Peter Bosch, Leverkusen, have looked the fourth best side in Germany when they play their best, but they have not had enough form. They are going to beat this Mainz side. They're going to beat this Mainz side 3-0, but they are going to find themselves not going up on goal difference, and they really only have themselves to blame. I don't know what the answer is for them, but I know that next season they will not have the same team they have this year, because if Kai Havertz stays, because the entire world of football's gone bankrupt, because he is probably the hottest commodity in Germany right now.
I actually hope Kai Havertz does stay for another year at Leverkusen, but full credit to Mainz. They had a difficult week ago. If you go back a week ago, it looked like for all the world that they might be a side that gets drawn into the bottom three. Fantastic win against Borussia Dortmund, one of the surprises of the season. They backed that up by winning their relegation 6-pointer really against Werder Bremen. We said who got the first goal in that game would be key. It went to Mainz and they ran out 3-1 winners. So well done to them. Tom, just before we move on, Tom was telling me that he thinks that he grew up in a parallel universe because he seems to remember Lukas Podolski playing for Mainz, and one of the good viewers kindly put him in his place. Tom, do you have any comments on that?
Well, quite clearly, I grew up in a parallel universe, and I can't agree.
Well, that's quite interesting in itself, isn't it? What happened in this universe?
Podolski played for Mainz. I don't know what happened. I was convinced he played for Mainz. Maybe it's but apparently it's just Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel who came from Mainz. Well,
thank God we're in this universe now where where Arsene Wenger managed Man United for many years. Long story short, Leverkusen win. I go even one more. Why not? 4-0 Leverkusen. Mainz seem that they've had enough this season already.
Capital FC Union Berlin versus Fortuna Dusseldorf.
Yep, so there's still a very slim chance that Dusseldorf could slip into the bottom two. They're 2 points ahead of Werder Bremen, and so they need to, I think they got a better goal difference, so they need to get at least a point in this one to just make sure they're in that third place playoff, and then still have a hope of staying up, really, because it'd be a tough one, because they're probably going to be playing against FC Hamburger or Stuttgart, and what will happen if they play Hamburger, Tom?
Well, they'll be eaten alive, and there'll be French fries everywhere.
Come on, man. Where's the partnership here? It'll be a delicious tie, was the line. They're the draw kings, aren't they? And Union Berlin love a draw too. So it's going to be a draw, 1-1.
I'm going to be honest, Ian. As much as I think it's going to be a draw, I've got to go for a Dusseldorf win. They won the corresponding fixture. Union have nothing to play for and have been battered in a couple games recently. But more than anything else, I just think that this is going to be Werder Bremen's comeuppance for not figuring out how to play until the final 3 matches and then throwing away a game against Mainz. I think Werder Bremen. I think that no matter what happens, Dusseldorf will take this final playoff spot. It will be, as you said, a delicious tie.
Only if they play Hamburg.
If they play Hamburg. If they play Stuttgart, it'll be a very sour affair. Anyway, 2-1 Dusseldorf. Capital SC Freiburg versus Capital FC Schalke 0-4.
I feel a bit sorry for Freiburg, really. They look like they one of the form sides, and then unfortunately they had to play Bayern Munich, and that's knocked all the stuffing out of them in terms of having a chance of getting into Europe. So it's two sides with nothing to play for. I think Freiburg will win this just because Schalke it's impossible for them to win games. They're on an absolute horror show of a run as a club, and they just want the season to end and forget about it. And David Wagner probably can't wait to go and have a rest and start a new season again. I think Freiburg will win. I always put Schalke down for a goal, which seems to have been paying dividends to me lately. I'm going to go 2-1 to Freiburg.
I'm also going 2-1, and I've got to be honest, I don't know how David Wagner is still going after what happened at Huddersfield and just the depressing state of affairs and then the random sacking for doing his job correctly for no apparent reason. And now he's at a Schalke team where... can you see him there next year?
Yeah. I can.
Honestly, if I was...
I think he's quite a loyal guy.
It's not him being there. It's the club keeping him. After the run they've been on, they're going to want... I feel that there's going to be serious talks about a clean break at the end of the year.
We've talked about this, haven't we? And I think that the club sort of needs to stick with him. And I think that they just need to give him a chance, because he did do well at the start of the season with the Schalke side. And they have had a lot of bad luck with injuries.
It's about 15 games without a win, though, Ian.
It is a long run of that one.
It's just a really... if they keep him, great.
Look, I mean, if he's there, let's say even as little as like 6 games into the season, if they haven't had a win or they start badly, then yeah, they'll start getting rid of him, I think.
Yeah, it's a question of what the team think, because there is a huge thing in football where it's like, even if the manager's talented and the players are behind him, it's like behavioral patterns. If the malaise is set in, the malaise is set in, and sometimes it is just I don't think it's necessarily David Wagner's fault. You look at this team, you look at what happened over the break, you look at the fact they're going broke, they're begging fans for money, their players are out breaking curfew constantly and getting in trouble, and you're like, I don't think it has anything to do with David Wagner. I think the club is in turmoil. And
well, to be fair, David Wagner wasn't actually there for half the game. He'd actually been out fundraising.
Should we start a hashtag Free David Wagner campaign? A bit like Free King Ralph?
Yeah, I know. And then they'll fucking turn it around, won't they? I'll guarantee him turning it around.
And we'll get a 4-year contract in like 2 months into the season. Anyway, look, enough of that, because it's time to talk about the worst team in the league, because it's Werder Bremen hosting capital FC, capital Cologne.
How dare you call Cologne the worst side in the league, Thomas? How dare you? I know they haven't won a game since the lockdown, but they've done really well securing Bundesliga football for another season next year. But Hannes was delighted, I can tell. I've had correspondence with him or with his handler, and he was delighted with the way Cologne have stayed up this season, I can assure you. And, they'll go into this game, and I think that they will even get a win in this game to sum off the season, to round it off, and to prove you wrong once and for all that they are not the worst side in the Bundesliga. I'm going for a 2-1 Cologne win.
I'm going for a 3-1 Cologne win. I was obviously, Ian, not referring to Cologne. I was, in fact, referring to Werder Bremen, the green and whites. Like, we said enough about them week in, week out. This team is going to be picked bare when they go down. 90% of this squad won't be here. There'll be no Rashica, no Sargent, no Bittencourt. Their entire forward 3 are going to be gone by the time they make it to Bundesliga B, as will half of the rest of this team. I like Cologne. I think this is where they get their win. And Hannes will be doing a jig in his cage whilst watching. 3-1, Cologne.
And finally, to round out the season, Eintracht Frankfurt versus SC Paderborn 0-7.
I am going to regret this, Ian, but I'm going for a Paderborn win. I think they get a win in their final match of the year. Fuck? This Frankfurt team are literally, whatever you think Frankfurt do in a game, they do the opposite. They go into a match with Cologne, they're obviously going to win, and they end up drawing it 1-1. They go into a match against Dortmund, they'll probably beat them 4-0. Like, you can't possibly predict this Frankfurt side, and as such, I refuse to do it anymore. They're just going to lose. Come on and watch! It's still on, and he's going to have a great game, but it's not going to be enough against a Paderborn side that are celebrating their return to Bundesliga B, where they know they can win a title and come back up as kings of the second league in Germany. It's 2-0 to the Paderborn 0-7.
No, I'm not having that. Eintracht Frankfurt are going to win this game. You talked about Hertha Berlin being a side that should be pushing up higher in the league. I think Frankfurt are as well, and I think Frankfurt will be a lot better next season when they don't have to play 50 games in a season. Crazy amount of matches they've had to play. I think they're way too good of a side to have been anywhere near the bottom of the Bundesliga table. I think Frankfurt will win this game. I'm going to go absolute reverse of your score because Paderborn, they're nothing. 2-0 Frankfurt.
Ian, I actually genuinely think you're probably going to win for a second straight week here because I've gone pretty rogue with some of my
well, if you like, I will give you the opportunity to change your Bayern win to a loss.
You're right. Wolfsburg, 4-0. We'd like to thank all of you who've followed this channel, who've liked this channel, who've like joined in on the Bundesliga stuff. We kind of did it as a random thought, thinking this will be fun. There's football back, and the love and support we've gotten from you guys has been really great. Thanking everyone who commented on the last video, Mikolaj BBB, Shane O'Donnell, Beth Cragg. No Alexander Allen on the last one. No Robert Allen. I'm a little bit let down. Johnny Talks Bundesliga. Check out his channel. He's great. Thorben Barrett, thank you for your predictions. And before I leave you, I will give you our current totals. So currently, I get a correct score 5% of the time, and I get the correct winner or draw of a match 56% of the time. Ian is averaging 7% correct scores, but only 40% of correctly predicting how the match ends, and yet he's still neck and neck with me because those 2% extra scores are so many points. But enough about that.
Well, I will say as well that you did win the dirty little bonus round.
You chose for that to count. I said it didn't, and you went, yes, it does, I'm losing.
I don't remember that.
Yes, you did. I
don't remember. My lawyers just said I don't have to answer that question.
Anyway, thank you all for liking, subscribing, commenting. We will miss you. Please follow the German Cup final, and we'll be back with you next year.